yo.
Straight from Brooklyn, better known as Brooklyn.
Never taking shorts because Brooklyn's the borough.
Yo, what's going on, everyone? I know we about, 14, 15 days late, but Happy New Year. It's a new year. And we just excited to be here again for this, not only this new year, but this new decade. And we here. So I'm here with cousin Sam and Michel'le for episode 7. That's a good number, episode 7. So Sam, what beat was that we just came in on?
That was the Crooklyn Dodgers from the Crooklyn soundtrack called Crooklyn.
Cool. And Michel'le, what's our topic for today? Talk to us.
Since it's a new year, we're going to speak about newness in 2020.
Nice. That's a good topic. Newness in 2020.
Newness in 2020. I'm digging that.
Right. It's a new decade, too, so it means even more, I think. So
Right.
That's good. I just want to start it off. Speaking of a new decade, a new year, it's actually been, not to touch on this topic for too long, but it made me think. I just recently lost my grandfather on the New Year's Day, which happens to be my birthday. And although it was an extremely sad day for not only myself but my family and also those that knew my grandfather, but it also made me think that, going into this new year, this new decade, that we need to see life in a different way. He was 83. He would have been 84 on the 23rd of this month. And when you think about it, when you just hear that number, 84 years, that's a long time. He lived a good, honest life, a really good and fulfilling life. But the Bible also says that your life is like a mist. So in them 83 years, I'm sure that, as he got older, he's like, man, he had to think like, man, time really moves quickly. So, I just thought, that in this new year, it's really time for us to cherish, our loved ones more, to be more intentional on, telling them that we love them, that we care for them, and trying to really spend time with people. My mom gave me something to say. I told her we were recording today. She's like, make sure you say what I said. And I'm like, what, Mom? She's like, whenever you think of somebody, if you can, call them or text them or reach out to them right then and there, I guess because, because losing her father, my grandfather, it just puts life into perspective, especially again on the day that it happens. So, what do you guys think about newness in 2020? Whoever jumps in, whoever.
Go for it.
When I think of newness in 2020, I just think of setting priorities in your life and being able to strive for whatever it is that you were stagnant in the prior year, and just being able to be like you said, intentional with what you want to bring forth into your life, the next season, a new level, to just explore and do whatever it is, and face your fears, whatever you feel like is holding you back from life, from your skills, whether it's education or a new business adventure. Is just about setting certain things as in your life as priority, and going for it.
Yeah, for sure. What about you?
Yeah, like you said, new decade, new beginnings, and it's for me, it's about realizing that the past decade is exactly that. It's past.
Right.
It's on to a new start. It's on to new levels, and as they say, new levels, new devils. But that just means new victories,
Right,
new,
blessing.
new things to conquer. As far as blessings go, I feel because we're in 2020, I think that means not only is it going to be clear, like the vision, but it's going to be double.
Yeah.
It's 2020, it's double year.
Word.
So that's how I'm looking at it. Double blessings, double everything.
Interesting.
Double all the good things that life has to offer. And that means working double hard too. So
Right. It's funny you say 2020 and 2020 vision. One of my mentors, she's been talking about how 2020 is a year of precision, and when you think about 2020, it's clear, like things are clear. And I just thank God that thank God for His Word that it gives us that playbook of life. And especially, again, going into a new decade, you do want to have new goals. You hear people say, new year, new me, New Year's resolutions. And a lot of times people don't hold on to those things. But when you walk into a new decade, it's really like a fresh start.
right,
You really get a chance to reevaluate things. And again, like Michel'le and Sam said, new levels. You get to refocus and you do things that may have been on your heart before. Um, Again, yeah, like she said, a business venture, um, anything. You just really get a chance to start anew and move into those new things that you have in mind. Also, I think like in terms of again, newness. I'm thinking also in relationships where maybe you had a falling out with somebody, whether that be family or friends. Now it's time to let bygones be bygones. I know I said that at my grandfather's funeral. Um, it's we life is short. Life is you know yeah, life is short, and there's no time to argue about things, about nonsense, especially with those people that you love. When it comes to family, like I know we're all three of us here are all big on our families, and I know me personally, I'll do anything for my family. And if I have a minor disagreement, even if it's a big disagreement, I still want to love on my family. And I think that there's nothing too big that should be able to separate family or good friends that you call family, from one another. So I just think that in this new year, it's that time to really step forward and be the bigger person. And even if maybe you feel you didn't do anything wrong to that person, you apologize just to kind of get on common ground and get that stuff out the way and really be able to enjoy people, enjoy those loved ones because again, tomorrow is not promised. You never know, you know, when it's that time that God's gonna call you home, and you want to be on good terms with people. Like again, I'm sorry to you know
I
move
talk
the
about it, man.
conversation that way, but I know with granddad passed. This in high school, 10. It'll be 11 years this year. That's crazy.
It was 10 years last year.
Yeah, and I just had such a hard time because I didn't get a chance to tell him I loved him. And I know he knew that. And it wasn't like there was anything wrong, any hard feelings or anything. He was just that sickly and he couldn't really, it was over the phone. So maybe, he was older, just, things happened where I wasn't able to tell him that. And it hurt me. But, there's other people that, have those same things, but maybe it's a different scenario where there may be some bad blood, and you don't want to move into something, move forward in life and lose a loved one and not have told them, gave them your true feelings and that you love them, that you really care for them. So that's just where I'm coming from with this. So that's really what's been on my mind, especially after my grandfather passed, this 2 weeks ago. Um, but yeah, that's just really been on my mind. So,
Well, well, to piggyback off what you had said, and that was very, very well put.
thank you.
But where I'm gonna come from with it is if you have a ought against somebody, you know, and you're holding on to it, it only hurts you. You
Right.
know what I mean? It doesn't You're not hurting the other person. You're not, that's that hurts you. So yeah, in 2020, 2020, let it go. You know, let it go. Move on. If you've let this person know, hey, look, this is how you made me feel. This happened, and they're not receptive, then move on.
Right.
It's also a year, also like it's a new beginning, new decade. Where I think that's one of the things we gotta learn as people is just know when it's time to move on.
Right.
Yeah.
If some things that are not worth holding on to, don't hold on to them because it doesn't. And bitterness is one of those things that people hold on to that they don't need to hold on to. So I'd say move on from, yes, let people know you love them. And yes, make sure that you're on good terms with everyone. But part of that is also knowing when to, maybe some ties have to be cut.
Mhm.
And, it'll only help you in the long run.
Right.
Michel'le?
Yeah, I agree. Forgiveness and moving on is definitely crucial, especially when it comes to family, because like Eddie said, life is short. And it's really about stepping into a new year and fighting against whatever the past and whatever that person may have done to you or may have caused in your life. The Bible talks about how be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So it's really about taking your mind out of whatever was in the past or whatever may have hurt you and putting and focusing on what if this person wasn't here tomorrow? Like, what if, I won't get a chance to, wake up and, say the goodbyes or say the I love yous. And that's what's important in life, people and others.
Right.
A lot of times, people focus on themselves and they're just selfless. Selfish, yeah, selfish. So, and it's just important to be selfless and,
Right,
and
yeah.
self-aware, self-observant in these areas. But yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
It's grudges. It really does just it makes you look old. It just grows you because you're just stressed out about things that you can't change.
Right.
And a lot of people need to understand, like, you can't change people. Like, you can only change you. You can't change, other people and how they act, but you can change how you react.
Right.
So it's just, it's important.
And I think that I was listening to Tony Evans yesterday, and he was talking about like oppression and how the enemy, uses a whole bunch of different devices to, kind of hold people back because he understands that there's something that God has for you to accomplish. There's greatness in you that God wants to bring out of you, that God wants to use you for. But the devil is very cunning. He's very crafty. He knows, he knows our weak points. And so again, that goes back to what Michel'le said. Uh, being transformed by the renewing of your mind. And when you allow the enemy to have that hold on you, whether it be like holding on to grudges, you're not able to move forward, and not being able to move forward, you can't move into the plans that God has for you. And I just think that this is that year. This is the time to just let bygones be bygones. To let grudges go. To break free from that oppression and move into the purpose that God has for you. Um, even again, in terms of moving on, whether that be from a bad relationship, whether that be from a toxic work environment,
Addictions.
right? All different types of things that the devil uses to oppress you and to hold you back. And it's up to us to know that there's something more out there. This is not what it should be like. Not to say like, yeah, God wants us to be, not to say that He wants. Excuse me. Not to say that it's all about self, but you want to be content with life. You know, you don't want to have any type of regrets and like, man, I should have did this. I should have left that person long ago. You know, you don't want to waste your time. That's the one thing. Time is so precious, and when you're holding on to old things, you're just wasting away. And that's the one thing you can't get back is time. You can get money back, you can get clothes, you can get possessions back, but you can't get time back, and that's the most valuable.
Yeah,
You know.
I agree.
I want to ask you guys a question. You brought it up earlier. We're talking about New Year's resolutions and the fact that, for the most part, they don't work.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you feel that is?
That's a great question.
It is.
You know,
Yeah.
okay.
So I think that sometimes it's pretty much the pressure, maybe the pressure of living up to something, just a fear. You know, it's like feeling like you can possibly, and I know some people just decide not to even make one because of the simple fact is like you're putting yourself in a position and you have to own up to that commitment, you yourself. Like a lot of people tend to keep these things, and that's something that I do. Like a lot of people ask me like, oh, what's your New Year's resolution? It's like it's not for anyone to know because I don't want to look or let myself down in front of anybody. I would rather keep it to myself and prove to myself that I can face the challenge and, cutting sugar out of, my diet or leaving meat or whatever the case is. I want to, prove to myself in my own challenge. But for the most part, a lot of people don't stay committed because a lot of people don't believe in themselves. They don't believe that they can actually face whatever they want, or put themselves to and put themselves to the challenge and face it and conquer it. They put a ceiling over their limits or their capabilities, and a lot of times they fail because of the simple fact that they don't have faith in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel.
I like that. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I never thought about it like that. Yeah, people. I think it's a mix of things. I think it's people put pressure on themselves, and then it's like, man, like I'm doing this. All right, I can give in for a day and get back to it tomorrow, and then tomorrow turns out to be the next year, and then you're making the same resolution. So I guess it's just it's also a matter of having the will to want to change. If if it's that if it was easy, everybody would do it. And I think that hearing other people say, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this too." Okay, yeah, I can get on board. But people don't realize it takes an actual will and want to do something to make it last. You have to want to change. You have to want to be tired. I think I was just talking to you about this today. You have to want to be tired about your situation to make the change. If you're not tired of it, you're not going to change anything. You could have a New Year's resolution every year. You could have a weekly resolution. Mm-hmm. But if you don't get tired of the old and the old situations, the old way of doing things, you're not going to do it.
And it all starts in the mind because you have to understand that you have a choice.
Right.
You have a choice whether to go left, right, up, down, yes, no. Like, make a choice and stick to it and be committed.
Yeah.
Understand that, discipline is important. So if you are deciding to, whatever it is that you decide that you want to do for this new year, and I know I speak for myself, I'm excited about this new year. And I hope that everyone else is excited about it because, again, it's just new possibilities that can come your way in any way, but it's a choice that you have to make and put your mind to it, and then set a time, a date, and conquer those things.
Right.
I think that and I agree with everything that you guys are saying. Though I think that the main reason why a lot of people don't stick to their resolutions is because in this day and age, everyone's used to being instantly gratified. If we want something done, we can look it up. We can look it up, see how to do it, and do it. If we want to research something, it's readily available. I think that people think that change happens overnight, and it doesn't.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of resolutions fail, because the number one resolution everyone makes is, I'm going to lose weight.
Right.
And, but people don't realize that to do that,
Work.
it takes time. It takes work, but it takes time too, because you want to do it correctly. You want to, do it healthily. Be healthy about it. People say they want to stop smoking. That's something that's gonna take time to accomplish.
Right.
So I think that a lot of people want instant gratification on a resolution, and when they don't get it, they fall backwards. I believe that in this season, what people are gonna have to realize is that to get the results you want, there's going to be time and effort that has to be put into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, being disciplined.
Yeah.
That's not something that you're going to do overnight.
Right.
You can cut. Like the person wanting to cut sugar out. You can do that, and yeah, it'll work for maybe a week or two. But do you have the endurance, the mental endurance, to really make it a way of life? And the person trying to quit smoking or whatever vice it is that they have. Do you have, it's one thing to do it 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 days or what have you, but do you have the mental stamina to keep going? And that's what I'm trying to develop in myself, is mental and emotional stamina, just to keep going in the right direction. I started out good. I want to keep going that way.
And also you need the, support, the encouragement, the
Right.
motivation, and, also to know that it's okay to fail. Failing is a part of the plan.
Right.
It's
sometimes failing is half the fun.
Yeah.
but
Right.
but the thing is though is, it's not and also to realize it's not a one and done sort of situation. Just because you fell at it, doesn't mean you have to stay down.
Right.
You can get up, dust yourself off, and try again. Like I said, it's a mental and emotional stamina that's gonna push you towards your destination and where you're wanting to go.
You was listening to Aaliyah today, man? That's yourself.
No, I know, right?
But
I am a big Aaliyah fan too. So I mean, that's not too far off the mark. But this particular time, no.
I just thought about it. Good looking out, Grandpa. See, he been doing things and he's not even here.
Right.
But like at the funeral, I know a couple of us spoke about how he was a fisherman. He gave me my first fishing pole, took me fishing for the first time. And the pastor who was officiating it, he spoke about what that means, like being a fisherman. It means you have to have patience.
Right.
Like you can't again, like to piggyback off what Sam said, that instant gratification, that's not realistic. I don't think there's anything in this world that has instant gratification.
Anything worth having usually doesn't.
Right, the slow grind.
Except instant oatmeal.
Anything worth having. I can see my mom saying oatmeal is worth having.
Yeah. But it's about having patience. If you want that big catch as a fisherman, you got to have patience. It takes mad long. And that's why, I guess I kind of, fell out of, fishing, because you sit there for hours waiting for something, But that's how life is. Like, if you want, something that's good, that's worth having, it's going to take time. Even in Isaiah 40, verse 31, it says, "But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings of eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint." So that's patience right there.
That's scripture right there.
It is. It's on point. Like, you have to be able to have patience. You have to wait on, if you want anything good in this life, you have to wait on the Lord to send that to you. Whether that be with relationships, business, all that stuff, Like, you got to be patient. You got to be willing to go through, whatever it takes. You got to be willing to put in the work. You got to be willing to let God let God be God. I seen that on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Right.
Let God be God and wait on Him, and you're gonna get more than you could imagine. But yeah, that's what with the whole resolutions and stuff like that. You got to have that patience and know that okay, if it's worth it, this is what I want. It's gonna take some time, so let it happen.
And I think also too, a lot of what's important is not the beginning and end of a promise or a resolution, so to say. It's the middle part. It's the process.
Yeah.
The Bible does say, "Despise not the era of small beginnings." I'm learning too is God is about the process. Because he knows the beginning, he knows the end.
Right.
But
It's a process.
it's the process that we go through. Whatever that is that you feel that he's leading you to do. It's the process in between that beginning and end. That's where the lessons are learned. That's where you draw closer to God. That's where you do your learning. That's where you gain knowledge and understanding. It's in the process.
Yeah, and then also, during the process, so say for instance you're in the middle, then you have how you was, the old you, the middle you, and what you have, I guess, worked your way into, and then you have the thing that you actually are walking into,
Right.
and in that process, you're able to weigh out the pros and cons. All right, say for instance if it was like me, I'm not eating sugar, or working out, is like, what are the benefits? Why go back to what was that I was maybe breaking out, or maybe out of, like, running out of breath, or whatever the case is, or if it's in a relationship, or you're being sad and depressed, and now you're in the middle and you're like, all right, I'm in this process. I'm almost away from this man that's been abusing me. I'm almost set free from that addiction of craving sugar, or I'm already 20 pounds lighter, so now you're heading towards that finish line where you're now conquered, your resolution or where you want to be. And why go back? Why go back to now I'm craving some donuts and I want to go get a Reese cup? So all of this stuff is just like, you have to weigh your pros and cons, and you have to measure where you at versus where you came from, and not wanting to go back to the old person. And that is like a renewing of the mind every single day.
And I think that's a really important point you bring up, that crossroad. And I think every destination has one of those where there's a point where you get, it's like a fork in the road. Do you keep going? Do you turn back? Do you stay where you are?
Yeah.
Because sometimes people get to a point and they feel, okay, that's good enough.
Right.
I can sit here, and and that's the beginning of mediocrity, in my opinion, and that's, for me, that's where I'm not trying to be there. I've had, that was what last decade was about.
Right.
I got to a middle point and I stayed there, and and it allowed for life to kind of toss me to and fro. I want to, I think for myself, and I think that we as people should always strive to keep going.
Keep
When that fork in the road comes up, take the road that's going to allow you to keep going forward, not that's going to put you in circles, not that's going to send you backwards, not that's going to, and don't set up camp in the middle.
So easy to be discouraged and want to go back, and because that's the comfort zone. Right. That's where you're used to being. That's easy. It's normal. It's kind of like trying to, picking up where it's just, but just don't give up. That's the whole point, is just don't give up. Keep striving. This is a new year, new decade. 2020 resolutions is just like.
That makes me think of a story in the Bible with the Israelites going to the Promised Land.
I was just thinking of that.
A
40-year trip that should have only taken 11 days.
Right. And then when you think about it, And I was saying this to you before. When you think about it, they crossed the Red Sea, and Pharaoh and his army was all after them and followed behind them. But then God closed the Red Sea on them. So they get into they're moving through the wilderness to make it to the promised land, and they're complaining because they felt they didn't have any food, they didn't have all these things. They wanted to go back. But when you really think about it, there's nothing to go back to.
Right.
Pharaoh was gone. Everything that they knew was
Destroyed.
gone. So it's like, why would you want to turn back to, nothing? Really, there's
But
nothing.
to them,
there.
it was
something.
home.
Right.
It
You
was
know,
what they knew.
is
That
is
comfort
what
zone.
the enemy will do. And he
Yeah.
will make you feel like something that is like, it's just not
Yeah.
right. It's just not it. It's not the destination that God wants you to be in.
Mhm.
And he will make that feel like home. And it's like, I want to go back to that. But no, you
Right.
you forgot
Right.
how you really felt when you was back there.
Exactly.
And that's why, I think it's so important to write. Like, and have a journal and actually write certain things so you can actually read what you were feeling at that particular time, at that date, at that time. And it's like, oh, I was feeling like this. Nah, I'm not going back to that because I remember that feeling. And a lot of times we forget.
Yeah.
So when we get back to it and it's like, oh, now I remember. I don't want to be here. Let me pick up my stuff and go.
Right. But and I always think that's a perfect example of God closing the door that no man can open.
Yeah.
Because it took a miracle for them to cross to get to the other side of the Red Sea. It would have taken a miracle for them to
go
get back.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And they was probably expecting God to help them get back there.
Right. And then I can only imagine some people going to the edge of the the Red Sea and just kind of looking across and saying, "Yeah, let's not, let's just go back."
Mm-hmm.
But I found it interesting also that even though they kept going in that circle, that 40-year circle, God still provided.
Yeah.
He gave them manna, gave them quail,
right,
and everything like that. So He's gonna be with you during the process, but He leaves it up to you for which direction you're gonna go.
Free will.
Free will. And I think that was a really good point, Eddie. I was gonna bring it up.
Yeah, I had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like going back to when you're going through that period. I think it's Matthew 28. I can't remember, but Jesus is saying, look at the birds in the air, look at the beasts in the field, even look at the grass. They all have their provisions. They have their food. You see a bird eating bread off of the ground. They're not like us. They have no, they can't think. They don't have no reason. They don't have the ability to reason. They just go off instinct. And God still provides for them. Yeah. So if we're made in God's image, why wouldn't He provide for us? So it's like going through that, that period of, man, what do I do? Like, how is this going to happen? How am I going to complete this? God's going to provide. He's going to give you that strength to move forward and be able to conquer what it is that He's placed on your heart to do. Whatever that resolution may be. So,
yeah. But no, it's interesting that you say that. So, God provides, and he's gonna, he's going to continuously provide. So as long as you keep going, as long as you keep living, God will, he gives you, he doesn't put more on you than you can handle.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes. But like any good coach, God will make the situation strenuous. One, to make sure that you realize you need Him and that you can't do anything without Him.
Absolutely.
But two is to develop strength. People who lift, so they'll start at a certain weight, and then they'll gradually make it heavier for themselves. But that forces your muscles to work that much harder.
Right.
And so with God, He forces. Sometimes He'll allow, our plate to get full a little bit, but it's to make us work a little bit harder to develop strength Two, to see strength that we didn't even realize that we had.
Mhm.
You know, so yeah, you know, he takes care of the birds of the air. You know, and that's what he asks. Are we not more valuable than they?
Yeah.
Right.
So I just, like I said, you've been hitting on all cylinders today, man.
Thanks, man.
You know what I'm
Thanks.
saying?
Y'all got some. Y'all said a bunch of gems too, man. You know, dropping jewels for the people.
Dropping jewels. You know what I'm
Word.
saying? So,
But
but let's put a bow on it.
okay, let's do it.
Okay, let's put a bow on tonight's topic.
Let's do it.
So, if we realize that it's about endurance, and we realize that it's about God taking care of us, we realize that it's about discipline, right? If you had to tell someone those things, right, in order to stay with what, in order to stick with the plan that they're going to do, or stick with the decision that they're going to make, like you said, whether it be leaving out of a bad relationship, whether it be, you know, changing lifestyle habits. Okay, when they reach that point of exhaustion, right? How do you replenish yourself? What will it take for you to get back up and say, okay, I gotta keep going?
So I would say that's a good question, by the way. So I would say it's of course different for different people. So I know with me, if I had a resolution to do something, I will keep my son in mind because maybe if something you need to be delivered from, what if it's drinking or smoking or whatever the case is, being there for your children and, keeping the important factors in life in mind and knowing whatever you're going to do is going to benefit you in the long run, is going to take you from one place into the next. It's going to, bring you from, down to up, increase, decrease to increase. It's kind of just going to bring you into something that is new. And new and change is great. It's something that everyone should experience in life. It's life is not good if you're just the same. I think that change and elevation is so important in life, in business, just to see your business increase, your finances increase, your relationships get better.
Yep.
You just healthy and just, sleeping better, worryless, stress free. That's the type of life that you want to live. You don't want to live a life that is just easy, because when you aren't doing anything, that's life. Life is just easy. It just goes on. But faith without works is dead. And that's, I can say anything. A resolution without works is dead. Like, you need to put in work. You need to have work. You need to put in work in order to obtain what life has to give to you. I'm a strong believer in you reap what you sow, and the law of attraction. You attract what you are. You attract what you put out in the air. Speak great things. Like I said, write things down. Create a vision board. I'm into all of that stuff, and I'm actually living an example of a lot of things that I wrote down or that I prayed for that I didn't even see in existence, but it was something that I knew that my God could do, and He did it. So it's really about just changing your mind and making certain things in your life a priority and striving for it.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was excellent. I would say for myself, when you feel like, when you said, when how can you move forward? Like, where do I get this strength from? And you're dealing with the different cares of life and everything that goes on in life. I know when I'm at that point, I have to pray. Like, that's That's my
Number one.
that's the number one thing for me is, the Bible says cast all your cares on him because he cared for you. Him meaning Jesus. And when you do that, that opens that strengthens that relationship with God, and that shows him that you are really relying on him. And also, the Bible says that he gives us peace that transcends all understanding, and that's my main thing. Peace of mind. I don't play with peace of mind. Um, when it comes to funny story, real quick. So I came home real late, and I was still living with my parents. Came home late, what, 2, 3 in the morning.
Partying.
Nah, not even. But I came in, I was tired, and it just so happened that the like the door handle, the door wasn't working really. But we have a screen door, and we have like a top lock that locks, right?
Don't give it all away, man. We
Man, we good now. We good. We
live,
good now.
man.
That was about like 5 years ago.
They got new locks.
Yeah, everything new. But yeah, and I must have forgot to put the top lock on, right? But I locked, everything else was good, right? So I go in, fast asleep. Next thing I know, I hear the alarm go off. So I'm like, maybe that was Dad. He went to go get some paperwork or something from his car. Maybe he just forgot to turn it off, right? So something just told me, go open your door and check and see if everything is good. And I see that it's pitch black down there. So I'm like, hold on. And then 2 seconds later, my dad opens the door to his room, and we just looking at each other. And I'm like, putting 2 and 2 together. And I'm like, oh, shoot, somebody trying to break in the house. I'm like, nah, yo. So I had a golf club next to my bed. I jumped and I grabbed that. I go downstairs and I'm like, word, y'all trying to rob us? Y'all trying to rob us? I go down, I don't see nobody. And the door's closed. I'm like, hold on. So we turn the alarm off. Just so happened, again, I forgot to turn the top lock on, but I put I locked the screen door. And the wind was crazy that night, so it blew the door kind of open. So I'm like, peace of mind, that's something that I don't play with.
Peace,
so,
man.
you have to have that. And I know that Jesus is the one that gives that complete peace. Again, the Bible says that transcends all understanding. And you can't even explain that. So anytime I'm in a situation where I'm like, Lord, like what's, I'm thinking like what's going to happen, I go to God. Lord, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that you're going to provide for me. I know that you're going to come through. So I'm gonna just leave it all in your hands. And he's saying, be a man of your word. He is really of his word. Like his word don't come back void. If he says he's gonna give you that peace that transcends all understanding, he's gonna give that to you. And that's what he does all the time. So when you think you can't move forward, just give it to God. He's gonna give you strength. His strength is made perfect in our weaknesses. That's in the Bible also. So just give it to him, whenever you're faced with those issues, those, situations, give it to him, get on your knees and pray, He's a big guy, but that doesn't mean he can't handle any small situation.
All right.
So do that.
Pastor Johnson.
You know what I'm saying? And to top it off, gotta help you develop your golf swing. That's what I got from it. But I look at it like one, there is something to be said for writing everything down because the Bible does say write the vision down and make it plain.
Yeah.
And I also look at that fatigue, like that poem Footprints. That because God knows we're gonna get like that, and like you said, it's a matter of our reliance on God. And when we look back, we can see that it was God who carried us. And you see that one set of feet in the sand, one set of footprints in the sand. That's how we knew that that God carried us. So the thing is being big enough ourselves to acknowledge God. I need you. And like you said, God will renew our strength if we wait on Him. Right. So when the fatigue comes, it's all about then knowing that our strength comes from God, knowing that He'll carry us, knowing that, also to prevent the mental fatigue is knowing that you're much more closer than you realize. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes people lose sight. Sometimes people focus on the fatigue and forget about the fact that they're closer to their goal than they were maybe 2 days ago, maybe 3 months ago. You know, when the fatigue comes, just realize you're a lot closer than you seem.
Yeah.
And God's gonna help you get the rest of the way there.
Absolutely.
So guys, that's a
Yeah.
wrap.
We
That's
appreciate
that's
you,
our
man.
show. Ed, you wanna close us out?
Yeah, let's do it. So, yeah, I just first of all, I just want to thank God for these two people right here and being here with me, and I also want to thank God for bringing us into a new year, a new decade, and we just so excited to see what God has in store for us all. I just know for sure this is going to be a great year, even though it started off a little difficult, but I also see that as God using that to open up a lot of other people's eyes, to who he is and that it's time to get to him, get back to him. So, yeah, again, and also I gotta say this too. I thank God for you listeners for actually taking the time to, listen to, the things that we have to share with you guys, and it's greatly appreciated. And yeah, I truly appreciate it. And I hope you come back for many, many more episodes. So, yeah, we're gonna sign off here. I'm Michel'le. Thank you, cousin Sam. Thank you,
No doubt.
and I'm your host Eddie Johnson, and this is Yo Yo the podcast.